Have you ever felt like you were giving everything to a man or a relationship and you still felt like you're being taken for granted? Have you ever felt like you weren't really being respected in your relationship? Today, we're going to be talking about how to make sure that you are valued and respected in whatever relationship that you are in. Hello, my name is Matthew Coast, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time watching my video, or maybe you've watched them a whole bunch of times and still haven't subscribed or followed me, make sure you follow me to get more cool videos just like this. So let's talk about what you need to do in order to have men respect your value, because he's going to see these things and he's going to respect you because of them. Number one is you have a confidence in your standards. So what does this mean? I used to have a mentor a long time ago who always used to say this to me. She'd say, he or she who is most confident will always win. And what she meant by that was that when you have a confidence in your beliefs, when you have a confidence in your desires, when you have a confidence and a certainty in your own reality, you suck other people into that reality, right? And they can't help but feel like they want to believe you, like they want to believe in whatever it is that you're saying, you're doing, or you're talking about, right? And so it's important to have a belief, a confidence in your standards and what you want and who you are and what you're about and what you want to create, and not to waver from that, because it's really easy if you're not confident in what it is that you want and who it is that you are and what standards that you have. It's really easy to get sucked into somebody else's worldview and start getting into what it is that they're talking about, right? So let me give you an example. So I had a woman come to me and she was seeing a guy for over a year and they still weren't in a relationship. And she came to me because she was scared, right? She's like, I'm scared to talk to this guy, to tell this guy what it is that I want, to have this conversation. I'm afraid that this guy's going to run off. He's going to disappear. He's going to leave, right? If I start talking about wanting a relationship. And it's possibly true that if she starts talking about that and he doesn't want a relationship, he might disappear, right? It's true. It's possible. However, men who want relationships with you won't be scared away of you wanting a relationship. Let me say that again. Men who want relationships with you won't be scared away of you wanting a relationship, whether it's with him or just talking about it in general. And so it's important to make sure that you are vocalizing what it is that you want, that you're confident in it, that you're just taking it and being like, hey, this is what I want, and being no nonsense about it, and just having that belief in what it is that you want. It's very, very important. Think of it like a high-end restaurant. Think of yourself like a high-end restaurant. If you think about a high-end restaurant, there's a bunch of people out there. There's a lot more people out there that are unwilling to go to high-end restaurants because of the price point, right? Most people go to cheap places to go and eat and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that those people want cheap food and are unwilling to go to a high-end restaurant does not mean that that high-end restaurant is going to lower their prices and become a cheap place to eat. Why? Because they know that those people that want cheap food, they know that this high-end restaurant, it's not for them. It's not for them. It's okay that most people want cheap food, because that's not who they're serving. They're not serving people that want cheap food. They're serving high-end clientele. They're serving a certain type of people, high-class people that they want in their restaurant. And so they don't lower their prices. They don't lower their standards. They don't go and give people what everybody wants, because they aren't for everybody. Get my drift here, right? So what you want to do is, it's the same thing with you, right? If he wants to be in your life, he'll end up stepping up to your standards. And if not, he'll go somewhere else. Say hi to us right now, wherever you are in the world. Type into the chat, say hi, and tell us where in the world you're watching this from. It's cool to see women from all over the world watching these videos. So number 2 is emotional independence. So what is emotional independence? What are we talking about here? Men respect women who are secure in their happiness and don't rely on them in order to feel whole, in order to feel happy, all that kind of stuff. Relationships aren't a place to get, right? It's not just about going and getting something in a relationship. You want to come to a relationship to amplify your emotions. The reason to be in a relationship is because if you're with a good partner and you have a good relationship, it will amplify your emotions and you will feel amazing and you'll want to be there. They will want to be there because it's so much better to be in a good relationship than it is to be single. And the opposite's true for a bad relationship, right? If you're in a bad relationship, it's horrible. It can ruin your entire life and make you never want to be in a relationship again. Anybody experienced that before? I have. Maybe you have as well. And so what you want to come to this relationship with is wholeness within yourself already, right? A lot of times, the number one thing that I actually hear from guys when I talk to guys about the women that they're dating, the women that they're with, is they'll tell me something like, yeah, she brings me happiness. She brings me peace. She brings me love. She makes me feel happy when I'm around her. And it's really difficult to bring somebody happiness if you're not feeling it yourself. By the way, this works both ways. Men should come already happy as well, already feeling good, and bringing something to the relationship so they aren't just taking as well, right? You both shouldn't be just taking. If you go to a relationship and everybody's taking, there's going to be nothing there for anyone to take. And then it'll turn into a vacuum and it'll just create lots of pain because you're both trying to get something from the other person, which is why it's important to show up already happy, already whole, already feeling strong and powerful and confident in yourself, right? Avoid validation seeking behaviors, avoid any of that kind of stuff, which can make him, it can make him feel needed initially, right? Initially, it can make him feel needed or attractive, but over time, it just makes you look less and less attractive to him. And so you don't want to do that. Think of yourself like a lighthouse, right? A lighthouse, it's standing tall, shining your light no matter what. A man doesn't complete you. He just gets to sail into your harbor, right? You're just shining your light and he gets to sail into your amazing harbor. So number 3 is clear communication. Men respect women who can express their needs and their wants, their desires, their boundaries calmly, confidently, lovingly, right? In a great way. I was working with someone who once told me, she's like, I feel like I can never get through to him, right? And I was like, okay, well, what is it that you're like communicating with this guy? Right. And what did she say? Oh, I'm dropping these little hints. I did this thing. Well, I didn't talk to him. So shouldn't he just realize? And I'm like, no, that's bad communication. Right. He probably won't. Like, let's just be real. Maybe you've experienced this, guys not getting your hints, not understanding what you're trying to leave out there. Why? Because most guys don't get hints. And so it's better to just communicate, what we were talking about earlier, where you're taking a stand for yourself and communicating what it is that you want, right? This is so important to do it clearly, right? Doing it clearly is the most important thing that you can do. The moment that she said, well, I was coaching her, and the moment when she started taking on this idea of being like, hey, I need this, or hey, I want this, or hey, I'd love this, or, what would feel really good to me is, and then communicating what she wants, right? It's not a mystery to the guy. Think of it like this. Think of it like a map, right? Think of your desires like a map. You're giving him a map. Your communication is a map. If you don't clearly mark where you're both going, you'll end up getting lost, You'll end up going to the wrong place. You'll end up going somewhere else. You don't want to do that. You want the map to be clear. Do you get what I'm talking about right now? If you get what I'm talking about, go ahead and say, I get it in the chat. If you don't get what I'm talking about, go ahead and ask whatever questions you have. I'm going to go over the questions here a little bit at the end. So number four is self-respect and self-care, right? Men respect women who treat themselves with love and prioritize their own well-being. It's very, very important. There's a metaphor out there that actually this is not a metaphor when you're actually on an airplane. And what they say is you need to put your mask on first before you help other people. Why? They say that on every single flight that you take ever, right? They'll say, hey, if in case of an emergency, put your mask on first before you start helping other people. Why do they say that? Does anybody know why they say that? The reason they say that is because if you have no oxygen and you end up passing out, you're not helping anybody, right? Why? Because you need to be strong. You need to be healthy. You need to feel strong in yourself if you want to help other people. If you don't feel strong, you're going to hurt, you're going to do things that aren't good for yourself, that aren't good for anybody else, and you don't want to do any of that. So think of yourself like a luxury car, right? If you don't take care of it, you don't have regular maintenance, cleaning, the works, all that kind of stuff, your car is going to break down. And self-care, it's not selfish, it's absolutely necessary. It is necessary. It's necessary. And then number five is having interdependence, right? Notice I didn't say independence, right? There's this overwhelming thing where people talk about independence. Well, there's 3 stages, and maybe you've read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Great book. I recommend it to everybody. It talks about these 3 different stages. One is dependence, right? You're dependent on each other. You have to have each other there in order to function, in order to work. The second stage is independence, where you don't need, this is like what you hear with the women that are like, I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent woman. Well, that's better than being completely dependent all the time. But the third stage is even better, which is called interdependence, which is when you go from being independent to welcoming somebody back into your life and working together as a team where you're both there. You're both independent, but you can be dependent on each other. You can work with each other. You can open your life up to bring somebody else into your life, and it doesn't destroy you or something like that, right? That is interdependence, and it's very, very important. It's important to have your own life outside of him, but to be able to come back in and share together, right? You don't want to lose your own identity or sense of self, of yourself, of who you are, right? You don't want to smother him. You don't want him to pull away and you end up being devastated because you are so dependent on him. And he will value you far more if you have your own life, your own things going on in your life, but then you can come together and be a team, part of a partnership, right? That's what we're talking about right now. So think of it like a basketball team, right? You're playing basketball. This is my best metaphor that I came up with for this. You're playing basketball and you're like, yeah, we're on this basketball team. I'm dribbling. This is my basketball. This is what I look like when I'm playing basketball. You're dribbling around. You're like, I'm doing my basketball, right? But at some point you pass the ball, right? And then they pass it back and you pass it back. And it's like you can be relied on to do it yourself, but you've got a team that's working with you and you're passing back and forth. And with a team, you end up throwing the ball up, like obviously I'm not a basketball player. I was a wrestler in high school. I was on the soccer team. So anyway, the point is that independence is great, but interdependence, the ability to thrive alone and together, is what wins championships. That's what wins championships. So I'm going to go over the 5 again. The first one is confidence in your standards. Number 2 is emotional independence. Number 3 is clear communication. Number 4 is self-respect and self-care. And number 5 is having interdependence. So out of these 5, which one do you think that you're already really great at, and which one do you need to work on? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any questions, I'm going over questions right now. So let's see, what kind of questions do we have? So we have people saying, hi, excellent, yes, getting it. Yes, that's the stage where my man are. Interdependence, awesome. Lots of people saying hi. Someone saying, Edmari says, looking great. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, looking great, thanks. Well said. Hello, hello, hello. Doop 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 doop. Phoenix says, be genuine and speak your needs. If you fake who you are and marginalize yourself, you only have yourself to blame. Yeah, it's true. If you try to be fake, then everybody's going to realize that you're just a faker, or you're going to attract the wrong people or whatever, and you don't want to do that. So, yeah, if you got any questions, I'm also here on TikTok. If you got any questions, go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. We have somebody who is asking what my zodiac sign is. I am a Scorpio. I don't know, there's something every time I tell people I'm a Scorpio, they're like, oh, dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, I am kind of dangerous, but, I'm also, when I'm on your side, I'm awesome. So I'll be on your side. Let's be on the same side here. Alicia says, for example, if a man cheats on you, you can't expect him to stop cheating because he showed you showed you a cheater. Yeah, so that's actually a really good thing to talk about, Alicia, because some people are cheaters, right? Just because somebody cheats once doesn't necessarily mean that they are a cheater, right? And I know that's a controversial thing to say, but it's like, like some people will lie. For instance, like if you are in a situation where somebody in your family is going to be hurt, or one of your children or something is going to be hurt, unless you lie, most people in that situation, like if their child's like life is in danger, they would lie in order to save their child, right? But that doesn't mean that they are liars, right? It just means that in a certain situation, they are willing to break their standards, their values, because of the situation that they're in, right? Most people, so what you want to look for are patterns of behavior, right? That's why we talk about patterns of behavior. That's why we talk about not jumping into relationships too quickly, because it takes time to see patterns in behavior. There's ways to speed that up. I talk about that in some of my programs, but you want to make sure that you're looking for patterns of behavior, because that shows you who somebody really is their patterns of behavior. Does that make sense? Okay. Phoenix says, great explanation, watching from Florida Space Coast. Nice. Is that a thing? Florida Space Coast? Sarah says, your videos have already helped me so much already. Thank you. You are absolutely welcome. That's what I'm here for, is to help you. So I'm glad that you are finding value here. All right, so lots of people getting it. Linda says, be yourself. Tell people what you're looking for clearly. Be confident. Yeah. So one of the things that we talk about with respect, right? The idea of respect and the idea of value. Value and respect are basically synonyms, right? They're basically the same word. And what it is like, you need to respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, you respect your voice, right? You just respect your word. You know that you have a problem with respecting or valuing yourself if you're unwilling to say what you desire, right? Because you're afraid that that's worth being heard, that it's worth being taken seriously, that, what you have to say and what you want is important, right? And so it's important to value yourself if you want to get what you want, because that's the only way that you're going to believe yourself that this is important. And the only way you're going to get other people to believe it is if you believe it yourself. Sarah says, I've always been matter of fact with what I want, very open to communication, so I'm winning there, but no receiving what I ask for. That's where the frustration was coming. So patience has helped. People all struggle and try their best. Yep. And so it sounds like you're talking about a very specific situation there, Sarah. And so if you want to talk more about it, go ahead and feel free to ask questions or talk about it in the chat, and we can talk about what's going on with you. Let's see. Regina says, how do you draw a line from giving from love to feeling obligated? How do you draw a line from giving from love to feeling obligated? So are you asking what the difference is between feeling obligated to give and giving from love? I think that what you're talking about is something that's going on psychologically with somebody, right? If somebody feels like they're obligated to do things, they're not going to want to do it. They're only doing it because they feel like they have to do it, right? And if they're giving from an emotion where they want to give, then they're going to be more excited about it. They're going to feel it. They're going to be, happy about giving. So without knowing more about what you're actually asking, that's all we can really say about it at the moment. So Ansra says, be true to who you are, be authentic. My man is a Scorpio and he's an amazing person. Yep. Scorpios are awesome. Yeah. Elise says, if someone breadcrumbs you, is that an indication that they are a narcissist? Well, here's the thing about narcissism. One is narcissism is a way overused term in our society, right? Like most people have narcissistic traits. I was watching a video the other day where somebody was like, some people say that most people have narcissistic traits. That's nonsense. It's like, no, it's true. Most people do, right? Most people, so you have to be more specific and you have to look for different things. And even more specifically, I just get rid of that term altogether, right? The word calling somebody a narcissist doesn't help you. What does help you is looking at them and saying, is this behavior something that's healthy or something that's not healthy? Is this behavior something that I can be in a relationship with, or is it something I can not be in a relationship with? The problem with calling somebody a narcissist and a lot of the thought processes that a lot of people use around narcissism is it's basically calling them a monster and saying they're not human. They're this thing, which is a narcissist. And so they're, this monster that's coming to get you or whatever. And ultimately that doesn't really help you for the most part in most ways. And so I just get rid of that terminology because it doesn't matter if he's a narcissist or not. What matters is he a good person for you to be in a relationship with? Is this person, good for you long term? Is this person a good long-term relationship partner? Do they have similar values as you? Do their behaviors align with somebody that you could be in a relationship with for a long time? And so that's more of what I would look at least, because somebody breadcrumbing you, it might be that they are a narcissist and it might not, right? It might be that they're just scared of telling you the truth. It might be that they just enjoy getting their emotional needs met, and that they, so they're just thinking of themselves, right? Which is a narcissistic trait, but it's just one, right? It's just one of many. And it might just be that they're doing that because you're letting them do that, right? So that's more of what I would look at, is why am I letting this person breadcrumb me? And Why am I not taking a stand for what it is that I want and having boundaries for what it is that I want and switching that why around to saying, hey, how can I have the boundaries that I want? How can I get what I want? How can I communicate what I want? How can I set up a boundary so that if this person isn't willing to respect that boundary and respect what it is that I want, that there's consequences to that. And the consequences being, the three types of high value behavior, which is one, walking away, right? Communicating what you want. Two is walking away. And then three is making them earn you back, right? So think about it like this, Elise. Your time, the way that you want to think about it in your mind is that you are a sacred being. You are a divine being of God. And if somebody wants to have time with you, if they want to spend time with you, if they want your attention, if they want, to be messaging back and forth with you, if they want your response to them, they have to earn it. And if they don't earn it, they don't get it, right? And making them earn it is what makes them value you, right? Because if you believed you're sacred, if you believed you're a sacred being of God, would you just give your time to anybody? Would you just, let anybody waste your time and let them breadcrumb you and all that kind of stuff and tie up your time and your attention and all that? The answer is no. You would not allow those things. And just the fact that you are means that you need to step more into believing in your own value and stop letting him dictate the terms of whether you're talking to him or not. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you there, Elise? I hope it does. So Melissa says, when you have this 5, but someone leaves you. Right. So what we were talking about with that 5, right? One of the things that we talked about was that if somebody isn't for you, they will exit, right? If somebody isn't willing to respect you, if somebody isn't willing to value you, right? If you have terms and standards and you're confident in that, and you're like, hey, this is what I want, is I want to have an amazing relationship. I want a relationship where I'm loved. I want a relationship where somebody speaks to me in a kind way and treats me well and loves on me, right? If that's what you want and that's your standard and they aren't willing to give it to you, then they should leave, Maybe they aren't the right person for you. And that's okay. Not every man is built to value you. Right? Just like not every person is designed to go to a high-end restaurant. Most people want cheap, easy food. So allow those people to go and get the cheap, easy food and only allow men in who want to value you, just like the high-end restaurant. They only cater to a certain type of man, certain type of person. And so that person is who their clientele is. And if somebody's not their clientele, they aren't trying to figure it out. How do I make this clientele want to be here at our high-end restaurant? How do I make them pay to come, to show up? Right? They don't do that. The high-end restaurant's like, hey, we're high-end. We know what we have here. We have a valuable experience, a valuable service, great food. If you are the type of person that goes for that kind of an experience, that kind of food, come on in. If you're not, then see your way out the door, right? And that's what high-end restaurants do. And that's what you need to do as well. If they aren't for you, let them keep on pushing. Let them keep on pushing. Does that make sense there, Melissa? Okay, so Tina says, hello, Matt. Angel here in Washington. That's right. Cheaters, I don't think they can really help themselves, men and women. I was told by a guy who cheated, he said, I'm sorry, I just love women. Yeah, well, he should be single. That's what you should tell him. He needs to stay single. Astrid from TikTok asks, no contact 4 weeks now. Should I reach out even if he dumped me? Yes. The answer is yes, you should. You should definitely reach out. It's no problem. It's not a big deal if he's the one that dumped you. It's fine, right? All you're doing is sending out feelers there. You're not trying to, do anything else with your first message. Is you're just reinitiating contact. You're restarting the conversation. And okay, so doop 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 doo. Jamie says his pattern is agreeing to hang out, then pulling away. Like he changes his mind, or maybe doesn't feel confident to pursue something greater. Yeah, that's so, Jamie. What does that tell you about him, right? If he's not confident enough in himself, or he changes his mind so often that he agrees to hang out and then pulls away on you, what does that tell you? That tells you that he probably does that in a lot of other areas of his life, that he's not reliable, that his values aren't in alignment with what you probably need for somebody to be in a long-term committed relationship with you, right? So, Jamie, the way that you want to think about this is you want to think about yourself as having your own company. You are Jamie Mann Entrepreneur Services LLC, right? And you have a job opening for the position of your man, right? And this guy is applying, right? There's different men, they're applying for the position. This guy got your attention for some reason. And now you're giving him a task and you're like, okay, I'm interested in having you work in this position as my man. And so what I want is for us to go out on dates and, talk to each other. I want you to say lovely things to me because, I'm a beautiful and amazing woman. And of course you're going to say lovely things to me. I mean, who wouldn't say lovely things to me? I'm amazing, right? And you're going to show up on time. You're going to plan some dates. We're going to go. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to light you up. We're going to light each other up. We're going to love hanging out with each other. And if everything works out well, we're going to, jump on a couple of horses and ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after, right? So this is what you are metaphorically communicating with this man, right? And what this man is doing is he's going, okay, Jamie, so let's hang out and let's do this stuff. And then he pulls away and disappears, right? So if you were running a company and you had a position for the job of your man, and this guy says that he'd love to work for you, but then he just doesn't show up to work. He says he's going to come in, but he doesn't come in. And he keeps disappearing, then he comes back, but he then disappears again and comes back and disappears again and comes back, but he never actually shows up to work. What would you do with that guy? As an employer myself, I can tell you that I would fire that man very, very quickly. And I would say, hey, if you want to work here, you have to be consistent. You have to show up. You have to communicate what's going on with you. And you have to actually put in the time and the work. It's worth it. It's totally worth it because my name's Jamie, and I'm an amazing woman to be with. You're going to love being with me, but you got to actually show up. And if he doesn't, that's fine. You'll find somebody else. There's a bus of men. And it's coming down the street and it shows up, and you might have a guy come out and want to hang out and be with you. But you know what? If not, and things don't work out with him, another bus is coming, and another, and another, and another. There's always another bus of men coming down the street. So don't worry about this dude and what's going on with him, because there's another bus, Jamie. Let go of this man. Start respecting yourself enough to stop allowing him to push you around. Does that make sense, Jamie? So, boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. All right, so let's see. Letitia says, my respect for you, Matthew, went up 20% because you quoted Tupac. Good stuff. All right. Elise says, thank you. I've never been breadcrumbed before. My girlfriend pointed it out to me, and I am really hurt by it and couldn't believe it was happening because of all the authentic things he seemed to tell me. Yeah, see, one of the biggest problems is that we get seduced. A lot of people get seduced to words or actions, or one of the two, right? But the words and the actions are out of alignment. And so what you need is words and actions being in alignment and over time them being the same, right? Does that make sense? And so that's what you're looking for, is words and actions being in alignment. And when they're not in alignment, always believe the worst of the two. If he's telling you that you're amazing, but and that he wants to be with you and all this stuff, but he's not showing up or whatever, believe his actions. If he's showing up and acting like you're his girlfriend, but he's telling you you're not in a relationship, believe his words, right? That's what you want to do. When words and actions are out of alignment, always believe the worst of the two. All right, so Marty Soko says, why won't you reply to my message? I don't know what message you got, Marty Soko. Why you messaging? Tell me your message. What do you want to ask? Marty Soko says, clearly you are not real yourself. Take your own advice. Oh, Marty Soko, you're killing my heart, Marty Soko. Okay. All right. So you always got a critic. There's always a critic in the chat. Shenandoah says, hi, I think my friend's husband is gay. It happens. It happens. Some guys, we're not going to go there today, but if you need any advice on that, let me know. Or if she wants some advice, let me know, and we can talk about it. All right. Renee says, few seem understanding that narcissism is another term for self-love. It's not. It's not a term for self-love. People either have a level of healthy narcissism because they love themselves well, or they have the more negative understanding of this term. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. What you're trying to do here, Renee, is reframe the word narcissism, right? What's actually happening is that a lot of people are describing narcissism as something that it's not. And a lot of people are seeing signs of narcissism and they go, oh, they're a narcissist, but they're not, And so I think it's an overused term. And what you're saying is true, which is that people either have a healthy self-esteem, healthy ego, healthy view of themselves, or they don't. I don't know. I don't think using the term narcissism is great, but, we all have our own thing. B Greenleaf says, what is wrong with Marty Soko? Somebody's having a bad day over on TikTok. It's just a part of the thing over there. They almost deleted TikTok completely from the USA, and I think a lot of people are still a little traumatized by it over there. Melissa says, please save this live. Thank you, man. You are so kind, so good energy with you. I appreciate that. Rebecca says, this is amazing. Thank you. It's stuff that I already knew, but it's stuff like that everyone can actually put into fruition, not even just with a single significant other, but people at work or other, whatever kind of, yeah, exactly. This is relationship stuff. This is fundamental relationship stuff. Ryan says, it provides room to level up your self-worth if they leave. They weren't on your level to begin with. Yeah, and that's okay, right? Not everybody's for you. Some people, you're going to see them and you're going to wish that they would be with you because they have some characteristic that you like, but they're not really the right person from you. And so just let go of them, just leave them alone. Just move on with your life. It's totally okay because there's somebody else that's going to show up and who's actually going to be in alignment with you, who's actually going to value you, who's actually going to treat you well. And that's what you actually want, is that right person for you. That person that's in alignment with you, that sees you, that thinks that you're amazing and wonderful and special and awesome. And they're coming from a healthy place and they see you and they're like, yeah, I want to be with you. You're special and you're amazing. And I want to be with you and I want to have a great relationship with you. And I don't want to have to, I'm not going to second guess it. I'm not going to leave. I'm in this with you and I want to do this. Let's try it together, right? And you build something amazing with somebody wonderful. That's what you want to look for. Ryan says, great metaphor with the employer dynamic. Thanks. Thank you. Veronica says, almost 2 years since my husband left us. We started having sleeping together again last May, but until now, he hasn't told me that he wants to go back home. I decided to stop being intimate. Yes, you are right. She's asking if she's right. Yes, you are right, Veronica. You should stop it. Stop it immediately. So the way that you want to look at it is if you have a breakup, whether it's a divorce or whatever, you want to treat reconnecting with your ex as if it's something completely new, right? If you met somebody and you like started talking again, are you going to immediately sleep with them? I hope not, right? I hope not, because that's a great way to get into a bad situation. And instead, what you're going to do is you're going to reconnect with them. You're going to build great emotions in yourself and with them. You're going to get them associating you with great things. You're going to screen them. You're going to talk about what it is that you want. You're going to get an agreement that you guys want to be in a relationship together or that you're going in this direction together, right? And you're going to do all that. My suggestion personally is that you get into you don't sleep with anyone outside of a committed relationship, right? And that you make sure that you're getting into a committed relationship before you do anything like that. That is the best way to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And if you do, things happen, right? And that's okay. But I would stop doing it. I would stop doing that, because what's going to end up happening is he's going to be like, well, why would I want to have a relationship if I'm getting all my needs met physically and emotionally without being in a relationship? So there's no need for them to go back to that thing which they may already have negative associations to, because that's where they left, right? And so you want to change their associations to that so that they look at that as a positive thing that they want again, and that going back to that isn't going to end up in pain. Because if they feel like it's going to end up in pain, they're going to end up not wanting to go back to what they feel like is pain, right? It's the same thing with like guys that have been hurt before. And then you end up meeting them and they're like, oh, I've been hurt in a relationship. I can't get into another one because the relationship's so much pain, right? And so you don't, and so they associate that with pain. And so they're unwilling to get into that. The only way that they'll let go of that and go, you know what, maybe it's going to be better this time, maybe it's going to be great this time, is if they believe that something different is going to happen, if they have new associations to that. Does that make sense? So that's what you want to do, Veronica. Is you did the right thing, Veronica. And so just make sure that you're coming from that position and talking, having communication, having real communication about what it is that the two of you want. All right. Okay, Kay says, how do I handle when he raises his voice at me for no reason when I ask him a question? Well, what you need to do, so we were talking about the 3 forms of high value communication, right? When somebody is acting inappropriately, right? What you do is there's 3 forms. One is communicate, right? Which often looks like setting a boundary, like, hey, honey, I really love you, and I love talking to you, and I'd love to, make sure everything's great between us, but, and then you set the boundary, like, I need to make sure that, that you're speaking to me in a, respectful way, because, I don't like being yelled at or whatever, right? And then you ask for an agreement, like, hey, do you agree to that? Like, is that okay with you? What do you think? Right? Something like that. And then let him talk, right? The second form is walking away, right? If he continues to raise his voice, it's removing yourself from the situation. And then step number 3 is making him earn you back if is doing this, right? Which in your situation, let's say he was raising your voice, would be apologizing, it would be saying sweet things to you, it would be making up for it, it would be changing his future behaviors, right? It would be answering your question that you asked him in the first place, but he raised his voice, and so you never got your answer that you wanted, or you're too frustrated to get it, and so now he's got to answer it in a loving, kind way, right? Does that make sense, Kay? So those are the forms of high value communication. Um, okay, let's see. Look over at TikTok. Looks like we're having a battle over at TikTok. uh, yeah, Melissa says, "Oh, I would dump him like a bad habit. I wouldn't even go back." Violet says, "How long approximately does it take for a guy to heal after his wife passed away?" Well, some people never do, right? So there's some people, some guys out there that will never heal, right? So it's all dependent on him, right? It could happen. He might have happened. It might have happened years ago before she even passed away, right? Because sometimes somebody passing away is something that they knew was going to happen, right? And so what ends up happening is that they prepare for it for months or years before it actually happens because they know that it's going to happen. And then when the person passes away, they're already healed by the time it happened because they knew it was happening. They let go, they, loved, they, did all that kind of stuff, and they're coming back into the world in a strong and powerful place. And then there's some people who never end up doing the healing that they need to do at all, and they hold on to it for the rest of their lives, right? There's people out there, there's a celebrity. Who was it? Who was the celebrity? Does anybody know? Put it in the chat if you know. There was some celebrity who his wife passed away, and he was like, "Hey, I'm never going to date again because I loved her so much, and nobody can ever replace her, so I'm just never going to date again." Right? And that's a form of, usually that's like I haven't healed from it, right? But you definitely wouldn't want to date or be in a relationship with somebody like that because they're like, they committed themselves to their wife, and it's a noble thing. It's a very noble thing to be like, hey, I'm not re-entering the dating market at all, right? And so the answer to your question there, is that. Violet, is that it really depends on the person. And what you want to look for are signs that this person is healed or signs that this person has not healed. And so Violet says, I asked because he is complaining me to her or giving examples of her quite often and I don't like it. Yeah, those are him showing you that he's not healed, right? There's some healing work that he needs to do in order to let go and move on. And so right now, he's not fully emotionally available because he has pain that he hasn't healed from. He hasn't let go. He hasn't fully accepted it and embraced the fact that she's passed on and moved on with his life. And so he has work that he needs to do. And so right now he's just not fully emotionally available to be with someone because he's still stuck on his wife who passed away, which is, it's understandable, right? Especially if they really loved each other, if they really had a strong, close relationship, that can devastate somebody for a long time, especially if they aren't doing personal development work, if they aren't doing healing work, if they aren't, actively trying to let go. It might be that that person can't really be in a relationship for the rest of their life. And so you want to look for that. And the evidence that you're talking about right now is showing that he's not healed. Does that make sense, Violet? Michelle's like, such a naughty laugh. Love it watching from the UK. Ooh, naughty laugh. All right. Okay. So let's see. Lisa says, what if I'm a good communicator and he's not? Also, we are in a phase to know each other more so we can do next step like engagement. Oh, that's exciting. I think we're having an issue in communication. Well, tell us, like, what's the issue that you're having? Like, what's the problem that you're running into right now, Lena? And maybe we can talk more about it and what you need to do. So Gloria says, "You're the first person I found 3 years to try and understand my relationship with DA because your information and advice. We are very happy, loving, and respectful relationship. We are both happy. Thank you, Matthew. You're awesome." Well, awesome, Gloria. Congratulations. I'm glad you're doing so well. I'm glad it's helped you so much. And so thank you for commenting and letting us know about that because we want to celebrate with you. And it sounds like you're doing a great job. So congrats. Congrats on that. Awesome. So Anna says, I appreciate you, Sir Matthew. I love how you explain the best way in a relationship. I'm learning a lot by listening to you. Keep up the good work. I love your laughing. Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Let's see. Melissa says, I had a great relationship. He said he want to get married with me, and he did some stuff that I believed that, but after 10 months, he broke our relationship and said, I can't be that person I was, and I was shocked. I don't know why this happened and what I should do. He was kind, and we uh, needed so good with each other. Yeah, that's it's sad to hear, Melissa. I'm sorry to hear that. The best thing that you can do right now, Melissa, is work on yourself. Start focusing on building yourself back up, growing yourself, getting yourself into a strong and healthy and powerful place. And uh, regardless of whether you end up, I'm not sure if you're asking because you're trying to reconnect with him or not, but regardless of that, you want to get to a place where you're feeling strong, you're feeling whole. One of the best things that you can possibly do with all of this is start creating what we call a bright future, right? And so this bright future is this idea of this future that you're going to have one day. And it's going to be this beautiful, amazing future, something where you're just absolutely in love and you have somebody that's with you and you guys just, you see each other and you're like, yeah, we're going to do this. I can't wait to be with you. I want to be with you forever. Like, let's do this together. You're the one for me. There's no doubt about that. I knew since the moment. Well, they don't have to say that, but you know what I mean. You get what I'm talking about. And so you create this future, and specifically, you want to start feeling these different emotions that you want to feel in the future, right? So you imagine this future, and what are you going to feel, right? What do you want to feel when you're in a relationship in the future? One of the things that you probably lost here was security, right? So you don't feel, you want to feel like you're secure, like this is going somewhere, like this person isn't going to leave you, like you have somebody who's stable, like you have your rock who's there with you, through all this. You probably want to feel valued, which is the topic of this video right here, is you want to feel like you're being valued by a man, you're being prioritized, you have somebody who looks at you and thinks that you're the most amazing and special person that they've ever met. You want to have somebody, you probably want to feel seen and understood and like somebody's on your side, right? And they've got your back and they're with you in this game of life where you're, going through life together and experiencing this wild ride. And then fourth is you probably want to feel excitement. You want to have passion between the two of you. You want to look at each other and you want to rip each other's clothes off and kiss each other all over your bodies and, do the sweet love stuff, That's what you want to think about and you want to feel, and you want to feel those things while you're envisioning this bright future that you have with this man that you're going to be together with, right? And those emotions will get lodged into your body and it'll help you recognize the right path to go down. It'll help you recognize the right men and the wrong men. It'll help you be able to communicate what it is that you actually want. It'll help you see warning signs when something off is showing up there, right? And so it sounds like it was a tough situation that you just got through, Melissa. And keep on doing the work, and just remember that there's a bright future in front of you, and you can have a great, amazing relationship, whether it's with that guy or whether it's with somebody new. You can have the relationship that you want. And so focus on that. Focus on growing. Focus on moving forward, and you will let go and get into a really strong and powerful place. And then whatever happens, it'll be okay. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Melissa? So, um, Rachel says it was Liam Nielsen who said that he was not going to get into another relationship after his wife died. Yeah, and that's noble. That's a noble thing to say and do. That's really powerful. Good on Liam for doing that. I mean, you know, um, and it is, Pamela saying, I agree, and that's okay. People deal with it differently. Yeah. Um, yeah, so Connie says it's Liam Nielsen. Oh, apparently Pierce Bronson said the same thing. Yeah, thanks, human. Um, doop a doop a doop a doo. Ryan says, what do you think of venting outside the relationship if there's an issue and you want perspective from people you consider to be close friends and family? Privacy is definitely sacred. Yeah, she says, and furthermore, if the close friend is the opposite sex, um, yeah, like if you want to get perspectives on things, that's one thing. But venting to them, I would look at what you're venting about and why you're venting about it and what's going on. There might be some people. It would, yeah, I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on it. You know, um, and it kind of depends on your relationship with those people and what's going on. Generally speaking, what you want to do is you want to say good things about your partner behind their back, right? If the only experience that your family and friends have is of you venting about your partner, that's not going to be good for your relationship, and it's not going to be good for your friends and your family's relationships to your partner, right? So ideally, if you are going to be venting, you also want to be saying nice things most of the time. You also want to be calling them up and talking about great things that you've experienced together so that they don't think that your relationship is a total, clown show when you're talking to them about it. And if they do think it's a total clown show and you only have, things that you need to vent about, then you might want to rethink what's actually going on in this relationship and whether this relationship is the right place for you to be talking about this or not. Does that make sense to you? Connie says, Matthew, do you do private consultation? If you want to talk to my team, if you need some coaching or something, I suggest you go to matthewcoast.com. You can go there and sign up for a free call with my team, and they can talk to you about coaching. You're not going to get a private consultation with me for right now, but Sarah says, is TikTok a better place to watch your live videos? Probably not. I don't know. Like, what do you TikTok people think? Is TikTok a better place to watch my live videos? I would think that YouTube's probably the best place to watch my live videos, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. Not entirely sure. You're on Facebook. I think that's probably a pretty decent place. So, all right. Well, I need to get going here, but thank you all for being here with me today. I appreciate you. I appreciate your questions. I hope you got a lot out of this live stream today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, great weekend, great night, great day, great evening, wherever you are in the world. And TikTok's making me do like a thing to show that I'm a human. Drag the puzzle piece over to show you're a human. All right, so have a great day, great evening.